Good evening and welcome to the October 6, 2022 Newark Unified School District Board of Education meeting. NUSD has opened its boardrooms for in-person meetings and will follow state and Alameda County safety guidelines for public gatherings. Please refrain from attending in-person meetings if you have COVID-related symptoms. For additional COVID-19 information, please go to https://www.newarkunified.org/COVID-19 or https://www.acoe.org/guidance. Members of the public may observe the meeting via NUSD YouTube channel, live transmission on Comcast Channel 26, or in person at the NUSD boardroom. Spanish translation will be available via Zoom. In regards to public comment, the public will have the opportunity to address the Board of Education regarding non-agendized matters and agendized items with a live audio-only comment via Zoom with advance notice requested by email at publiccomment@newarkunified.org, a written comment by submitting a speaking card via email at publiccomment@newarkunified.org, or with live in-person comments by submitting a speaker card with our executive assistant, Ms. Gutierrez. With that, roll call, please.
Board Member Zhang?
Here.
Board Member Marquez?
Present.
Board Member Hill?
Here.
Vice President Grindal?
Here.
President Nguyen?
Here.
All present?
All present. Meeting's called to order at 6:03 p.m. And before I ask for a motion to approve the agenda, I would like to provide some clarification on the agenda item. With regards to agenda item 10.1, I hope it was clear that the agenda item was referring to the placeholder for public comment on agenda items. However, in case there was confusion, it is not to add a new agenda item, just a placeholder for the public comment. Apologies on behalf of our staff for any confusion. With that, can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Motion to approve.
May I get a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Member Marquez, seconded by Member Grindal. Oh, we're still waiting on 2 votes. Okay, we'll do roll call. Member Zhang, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member Marquez?
Yes.
Member Hill?
Yes.
Member Grindal?
Yes.
I'm also yes, 5 ayes on the approval of the agenda. Moving on to item 3, closed session, item 3.1. Are there any public comments on closed? Thank you. In closed session, we will be discussing item 3.2, public employee discipline dismissal release. Item 3.3, conference with labor negotiators. Item 3.4, conference with labor negotiators. Item 3.3, conference with labor negotiators, NTA and CSEA. Item 3.4, conference with labor negotiators, NUMA, unrepresented supervisors and contracted management. Item 3.5, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. And item 3.6, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. We will now recess to closed session. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We are back from closed session. There is nothing to report out of closed session tonight. We'll be moving on to the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we are moving on to item 6, student report, item 6.1. Are there any representatives from the junior high, alternative education, and high school tonight, Mr. Gutierrez? Oh, perfect. Thank you.
We'll start off with the junior high.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, triplet, executive cabinet, and community members. My name is Addison Wolf, the 8th grade class president. I am here to report on our activities of the month. During the month of September, we got a fair amount of stuff done, starting with opening our student store and organizing the menu. And we also started planning our first ever dance of the year, which is in October on the 28th. We also started planning our Washington, D.C. trip, and we're looking at companies and possible sponsors. And just this week, we did our club day and ice cream social. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Addison Wolf. Next student speaker.
Next one will be our student board member, Diego Torres.
Welcome, student board member Torres.
Welcome. Good evening, everyone. There have been many events since the last report. Last month, we had the Cougar Camp, which was a community building event. Around 40 kids from the community came to the high school to play basketball, capture the flag, dodgeball, and soccer with the help of high school students. This event was a great way for these kids to know about the high school, feel connected, and be happy to come. As you know, Hispanic Heritage Month has started, and the high school has celebrated that in many different ways. We had City Council member Susie Calleso speak about her life experience to students. Last week, we had a piñata making workshop where students had the chance to make a piñata from scratch. Yesterday, there was a workshop where students had the opportunity to make pupusas from scratch. In addition to all that, last Friday, we had a banda perform for the students during lunch. The whole school will, tomorrow, in addition to all of that, tomorrow we have our Top 40 celebration. The top 40 seniors who have given the most to the school will be honored during lunch for their hard work and get to walk with their family or friends. The whole school will get to vote for their top 10 candidates, and the winners will be celebrated next week. Tomorrow we will have our breast cancer awareness football game. The game is to honor those who have fought the battle with cancer. Varsity starts at 7 and JV starts at 4:30. Please wear pink to show your support. Next week, there is also a lot happening. Spirit Week is happening next week, with each class having their own dress-up days. This week will conclude with our annual skits on Friday, 10/14, the homecoming game Friday night, and the homecoming dance on Saturday. Before the homecoming game, there will be a tailgate happening by the football field starting at 3:30 and ending at 6:30. There will be vendors, face paint, tailgate games, and food. There will also be a flag football event that all NUSD students, K through 5th grade, are invited to attend, which will happen from 4 to 5:30. After the tailgate, stick around and watch the Cougars play American High School. Coach K has personally invited all of you to attend. If you have any questions, feel free to email Coach K. On October 31st, which is Halloween, NMHS is inviting kids from the community to come and trick-or-treat at the high school and play some games from 4:30 to 7. The drama department is hosting a haunted house on October 21st and the 22nd from 6 to 10 p.m. In addition to the haunted house, drama is having their Clue on stage play November 4th, 5th, 8th, 11th, and 12th, starting at 7 p.m., and on November 6th and 12th, starting at 2 p.m. Lastly, the grueling process for college applications have started, and the counselors have had several workshops to help students get through it. They have gone over the UC application, CSU application, and recently we had a Sonoma State professor help students write their personal statements. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, student board member Torres.
And we have a recording from alternative education.
Thank you.
Board board members, and cabinet members. And Superintendent Triplett, board members, and cabinet members. I'm Alexis Blanco-Barrett. I am a Bridgepoint junior. Bridgepoint will be wrapping up the first quarter this week. We are looking forward to our new student wellness lounge coming soon. Crossroad has their school spotlight coming up later this month. Graduate dates have been set. We hope our board members can join us. Adult education graduation Thursday, May 25th, 2023, 6 p.m. Elementary promotion Tuesday, May 30th, 11 a.m. All ed graduation Saturday, June 3rd, noon. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, students. On to staff spotlight. Dr. Triplett.
Thank you, President Nguyen, and good evening to the board members and the staff and public. This evening, we have a couple of staff members that we really want to celebrate and spotlight, and we're going to start with a NUMA spotlight, I believe. And that is Ms. Jin Kim, who is one of our assistant principals at the junior high school. It's hard to believe, but Ms. Kim has only been there, this is her second year, but she has contributed so much since she arrived and joined the team. She was a critical part of the sixth grade design. She's been instrumental in master scheduling, and she supports the students every day, welcoming them, getting them into class on time, and taking care of all of their concerns. So please join me in appreciating Miss Jin Kim. Our second staff spotlight this week is Miss Brandy Wex. She's a kinder first grade combo teacher at Coyote Hills Elementary. I had the pleasure of being in Miss Weck's class. Actually, I've been there a number of times, but I had the pleasure of being there a couple weeks ago. She is really strong in implementing the SEAL strategies that support our English language learners. When I was there, she was doing a unit on community workers, including mail delivery people. She does an amazing job of creating a welcoming and warm classroom. Her walls speak of learning and of student work, and students have an amazing level of engagement and speaking to each other, learning from each other throughout her class. She really pushes reading, writing, drawing, and speaking, and it's a pleasure to have her as part of the Coyote Hills team. So please join me in appreciating Miss Brandy Wex. And last but certainly not least, we wanted to celebrate CSEA member, Ms. Margaret Gould. She is an instructional aide at Bridgepoint High School. First, wanted to just congratulate her. She recently achieved her associate's degree, modeling what it means for all of us to continue to be a lifelong learner. She takes initiative. She's comfortable in leadership. She's calm, loving, and firm with her students, and she provides valuable insights and feedback to everyone. I had the pleasure of being in the tall class today at Bridgepoint, and it was wonderful to see Ms. Gould and all of the students and teachers and other aides who are supporting in that fantastic program. So please join me in congratulating and appreciating Ms. Gould. And those are our spotlights for tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent Triplett. On to our next item, school spotlight, Birch Grove Primary. Dr. Triplett.
Thank you. So we are really delighted to have Birch Grove Primary today in the house, and coming up here, coming up to share the amazing work that's going on at Birch Grove Primary is Principal Ditto. You can also see behind the audience there some really terrific work from students that I'm sure Ms. Ditto is going to reference. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Ditto.
All right, thank you. Good evening, President Nguyen, board members, executive cabinet, community, Bulldogs. I am pleased to be joining you tonight to spotlight Birch Grove Primary School. While we're waiting for the slide deck to come up, I do want to introduce some folks that are in the audience with me here tonight. One of our paraprofessionals, Ms. Janelle Guzman. Three of my four members of our new ILT and Culture and Climate team, representing TK, our awesome TK team, Michelle Leipelt. Our kinder team is being represented by Robin Kawabata. Our second grade team is being represented by Denise Nguyen. And our first grade team member just recently went out on maternity leave, so she's very busy getting ready for our newest bulldog. And I don't want to leave out the person that helped me with the wall because I got a little bit of a busted wing. My husband, Todd Ditto. I had wonderful teachers that offered to help me the day after we got it done. All right. Thank you for indulging me. So this evening, I would like to spotlight for you Birch Grove Primary School. We are a safe, inspiring and innovative learning community. BGP by the numbers. So as of the 26th, we had 407 students enrolled. A little lower than our sweet spot. We like to be at about 420 students, but a marked improvement from where we were this time last year. We have 2 TK classrooms. We're excited to offer the only TK team in the district. And then we also work very closely with the other TK teachers as there's only 1 per site for the other elementary schools. We have 5 classes of kindergarten students, and we are quite full at kindergarten. 5 first grade classrooms, 4 second grade classrooms. We have 13 students that are in our special day programs at BGP. And we also serve preschool speech students that don't qualify for a for an SDC preschool classroom within the district, but do receive speech services. So we have about 20 students that aren't included in the enrollment total. I pulled these numbers on the 26th. I do have a little bit of bad news, and we have, as of today, dropped a little bit. We're at 399 students as of today. The students that we lost, a majority of them are moving either out of the Bay Area or out of state. So we've had some folks leaving to Texas, to Idaho, and some other states. So not a lot we could do for retention there. This is our data from last year. As we are Birch Grove Primary, we don't have state data to report. Our students don't take the state assessment. So for our first and second graders, we rely on our iReady data. For kinder through second grade, we rely on our iReady data. And because our students were coming back from the pandemic learning, we did a baseline assessment in the first month of school last year, which is the lighter shaded pyramid. And then the final assessment that we did at the end of the year shows the gains that we made in first and second grade. So it might be difficult for you to see. Let me highlight a few of these numbers for you. In math, we went from a 20% proficiency rate to a 71% proficiency rate, an increase of 41%. We decreased our students in that yellow band by 37%, and decreased our students performing 1 or more grade level below by 14%. In reading, we increased our proficient students by 37%, a decrease in our yellow band of students just below grade level to 1 year below grade level by 29%, and decreased the number of students that were 2 or more grade levels below by 8%. Our kindergarten data is a little bit different because our students, when they first come in, don't take the iReady assessment. So they don't take the iReady assessment until after the end of the winter trimester. So in February is when they take their first one. So you can see there's slightly less of an impact or difference in the green to yellow or proficient to just below grade level. But we still did see an increase in those students from 62% after 2/3 of a year of instruction to 76% proficient in math. And then in reading, 11% increase from that winter assessment to the final assessment. So we have a lot to celebrate at BGP. Our work is not done yet, though. So by the end of the year, 53% of our students were mid or above grade level. Another 18% were performing at beginning or at grade level. And this is all grades K through 2. 26% were 1 grade below, and 2% were 2 grades below. And we had no students testing at 3 or more grades below, which we would like to see that because we only go to 2nd grade. And then in reading, similar data, 62% mid or above, 14% early or on grade level, and 21% 1 grade below. So what is the reason why we are doing so well? Part of it is the academics in action. We do follow the adopted curriculum of Readers and Writers Workshop, Big Ideas Math. Our new SAVIS program, which is our World Studies, our World Social Studies, and our FOSS Science. All these pictures you see are of students this school year. So our teachers take all of that into account, but additionally, we know that we still have gaps to close. Our primary teachers have started investigating and using the science of reading, which is a more comprehensive and holistic foundational language arts, foundational reading and writing skills like phonics, which are missed with the Lucy Calkins adoption right now. So our teachers have gone out and searched this. We also, through a surplus of resources, were able to share these sound wall cards and items with all of the primary classrooms across the district. So we sent those forward. Mrs. Kawabata was instrumental in getting those out to the other classrooms. We also wanted to highlight that we're working on preparing for younger and younger TK students. So Ms. Leipelt and her partner have really dove into what resources are out there for TK. And they are working this year from the developmentally appropriate practice and early childhood programs to make sure that those students are ready for kindergarten. And we also have ELA intervention at BGP. Our interventionist is seeing students 2 days a week. Beyond academics, we have a huge focus on climate and culture at BGP. Yes, we have our PBIS, and of course we have our Character Strong, which our teachers had very positive things to say about the professional development they received on Monday. We also are continuing in the 2nd year of our Hearts Grant, which for those of you that remember last year, this was part of the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, a multi-million-dollar grant that was only, we had 5 schools across the country that were selected to participate. The members of the ILT that I introduced earlier have also joined the Hearts team, and so we're getting a lot of great learning, and we are starting to implement Tier 1 strategies through our learning at BGP. Our ILT at BGP is going to have a culture and climate focus. We also want to recognize that we are a class dojo school. So you can see we got some swag from them. We use it as our communication platform to families, so they're always up to date on what's happening at BGP. And check us out at Newark Days. We were so thrilled to be back in person. I believe we had between BGP and BGI almost 200 participants in the parade. And finally, as a thank you, I would also like to extend an invitation. We are having our character parade, our costume parade, returning in person with parents allowed on campus to come and see their kids in costume on the 31st. If you would like to join us, please plan to arrive around 8:30. The parade's going to start at 9:45. And then as soon as all the kids have their fun, we are back to learning.
Thank you, Ms. Ditto, for the presentation. Any comments or questions from the board? Student board member, do you have any comments or questions for Ms. Ditto?
No questions. I just got to say, I went to Bunker and then it changed into BGI and BGP. So seeing those slides were really like touching because I remember those days of being there.
Thank you. Member Zhang?
Hey, thank you, Ms. Ditto. And I just have one question. Do you anticipate next year the kindergarten, first grade, and second grade will all have 5 classes? Because it looks like right now your kindergarten and your first grade are bigger than the second grade, right?
Yes. So traditionally we have 5, 5, 5, and 2. That's where that's our sweet spot. It's been fluctuating. Last year we had a combo class in 1, 2. We started with a combo class in 1, 2 this year again, but because of the way the numbers fell, we ended up with 4 second grade classrooms.
So we can anticipate continued, I guess, increase in enrollment at BGP, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Member Marquez?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I wanted to give a shout out to Ms. Leipelt. She probably remembers my children, Aaron and Ariana Marquez, many moons ago, so it was great to see a familiar face in the audience. I appreciate your service in the years when you were unified. I did have one question, and this is a question from the heart. Academically, what do you believe, Principal, as the biggest contributing factor to the actual high increases with the students' academic? What do you foresee as the highest factor, or the biggest contributing factor?
Our best and most powerful tool is our teachers. We are very lucky to have a veteran staff with new teachers coming in and being well supported by their colleagues. The robust academic teams that we have, grade level teams, are hugely important. They get more colleagues to collaborate with on a daily basis that I know not all of our teams across the district are able to do.
I appreciate the response. Congratulations to your staff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Marquez. Member Hill?
Thank you, Ms. Ditto, and great presentation, and thank you for bringing data. So it's really appreciated. Would you mind going back to the first slide? Because I just want to understand what the baseline was that you were starting at. Yeah, I think it was that one.
So the baseline is we took the iReady assessment at grade level in August. So all of our first and second grade
last
students,
year.
yes.
Okay, and this was iReady. And then the new data is coming from August of this year.
We did not take a baseline this year, so we will get our first data set in November.
Okay, so I guess my question is
This is comparing August
okay.
to May.
Okay, perfect. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's really impressive. And that's great. And then you had laid out and talked about your belief in what was making it happen, and you talked about academics in action, and then there were different sort of categories underneath. So are those new programs that we've implemented?
These are the current adopted curricular resources for language arts, math, social studies, and science. So that's what our teachers are using as their base of instruction right now.
Okay.
The only one that's new this year that wasn't in existence last year is the Savas Our World. That's the new adoption for this school year for social studies.
Okay. And so then maybe getting back to Member Marquez's question as well, or comment, that it sounds like maybe some of it may be some new curriculum. A big part of it is you're saying the teachers themselves.
Absolutely.
And then I'm sure also being in person and not suffering from sort of pandemic learning loss, remote learning loss. I'm imagining that. I mean, it's hard to quantify, but
It's hard to quantify, but I will say that current data that are anecdotal data the teachers are collecting do show there was some significant slide over the summer.
Okay.
So they are starting with some challenges to overcome already this year as well.
Okay, but at least moving in the right direction.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Member Hill. Member Grindel?
Yes, thank you for the excellent presentation and the really the good news. I really appreciate it. I'm interested in the having the two TK classes. What do you ascribe having so many TK students, and do you believe that plays a role in the academic success in your school, or if it doesn't now, will it?
I think that one of the attributing factors to having two TKs is that we have a combined campus between BGP and BGI. So our enrollment is close to double what the other elementary schools are when you combine us. So that would be why we would have two classrooms over one classroom. I will tell you that Michelle Leipelt has become a destination teacher in our district for TK. And she is fostering that in her teaching partner, Patricia Mustafa, as well. I can't say enough good things about what is happening in the TK program and the benefits that it has for our students. And I know our kinder teachers are very, very happy when they get students that were in our TK program, because these are students that are very kinder ready. They become leaders in their classroom, and they have skills beyond what we would hope an incoming kinder would have.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Member Grindel. Hi, Principal Ditto.
Hi.
How are you? Before I get to my question, I just wanted to ask if you could please give us a little insight on the back wall.
Of course.
Thank
So
you.
what you see is student work from TK all the way through second grade. You have names, shapes, color identification, cutting skills, which you would be surprised how many of our students have not held a pair of scissors before coming to school and within the last few years. And then we have writing projects and art projects. I want to give big kudos to the Bulldog artists. They were learning about our bulldogs are safe, bulldogs are respectful, bulldogs are responsible, and they drew their own English bulldogs, which are amazing. And then our second graders have some writing samples as well as goal setting sheets up there as well. So you can see what their goals are for second grade.
Thank you. That's amazing. They did some wonderful work over there. So back to your presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you to you and your staff for working really hard with our students and getting them back to where they need to be and closing the gap, especially even with just the data that you showed us. I mean, from fall and then spring of last year, it's a huge jump in numbers. So I'm excited to see your November numbers and compare them to the baseline. But in terms of your staff also sharing out resources to other schools in the district, I want to commend your staff for doing that also. And I guess my question maybe to the superintendent is if you guys are able to also collect data and information on the progress of the intervention tools that you guys are using for English and reading, and how well that does, maybe, and we should be able to, make sure that all of the schools in the district have the same resources.
Sure. So the science of reading that our kinder team has investigated and spent considerable time planning for over the summer is, I believe, the adopted curriculum in Fremont. And they have some colleagues in the Fremont Unified School District that have been sharing resources with them. And then what we were able to legally reproduce, we did.
Okay.
For the work that they were doing and planning over the summer.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. On to item 8.1, employee organizations. Are there any of our employee organizations here tonight?
Numa?
Welcome back.
Should have had a sip of water before I came back up. All right, good evening again. In the first 40 days of school, NUMA has been very busy. We have been working hard to improve the experiences students have at school every day. Some of our members have been attending professional learning opportunities, including a social, emotional, and wellness conference that targeted both students and staff resources for administrators. We've helped lead and facilitate professional learning for teachers and support staff here in the district as well. Campuses are back open to parents, volunteers, and visitors, taking that important next step in returning to our place as community hubs. We also want to highlight our work with our supervisors in having a meaningful goal setting and evaluation process for every NUMA member annually. This allows us to reflect on our current status and push to develop further. It is through the alignment of personal goals, professional development opportunities, and guided reflection that we will continue to bring our best to serve this community. We remain, as an association, dedicated to every student, every day.
Thank you, Ms. Ditto. And, okay, great. On to public comment on non-agenda items. We do have 3 speakers. Our first speaker, Ms. Connie Pesaccio. I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. Please correct me if I...
Pesaccio.
Okay, thank you.
So that was fabulous information from the other schools. My time is, so I'm just going to get started. My name's Connie Pesaccio. I've been a teacher in this district for 19 years. During that time, I've taught 4th, 5th, 6th combo classes, reading intervention at several different schools. I've also been Teacher of the Year for the school district. Over the course of my tenure with the district, I've experienced a shift in district support and more requirements placed at the feet of the teacher. When I first started back in 2004, schools had reading, math, ELD intervention teachers, as well as computer and music teachers. We also had counselors on site each and every day, not once a week, not to mention principals that were available, not subbing in classrooms. Since then, every one of these positions has been eliminated and the responsibilities have been laid at the feet of the teachers. During this time, the needs of the students have also grown with little consideration as to how we will support them. Fast forward to today. Due to the closures of schools, our classes are fully loaded. We receive more students without the support staff. Due to COVID, many of our students do not have grade level skills socially or academically. As teachers, we are required to teach the grade level standards for 6 content areas. We are also expected to set aside time to do math, reading, and ELD interventions. We are also expected to counsel students, and we are experiencing a rise in aggressive behaviors from our students, which put our class and students at risk. We are also expected to give up our planning time when there are no subs for teachers who are out ill. We are also expected to perform adjunct duties, read more meetings, to support school and district initiatives. No consideration has been given to our increased duties and responsibilities. There are also many more parent conferences as they are concerned for their children. Our district office personnel continues to grow, yet our sites have less personnel than ever. The workload has increased exponentially. Most of our staff works well over 50 hours a week. During COVID, the decision was made to socially promote students who did not meet the standards for the prior grade level. This decision resulted in our students coming to us lacking basic skills to do grade level work. For example, I teach 4th grade. In reading, is about 26% of my students are able to access grade level content independently. 52% are 1 grade below, and 22% are 2 to 3 grade levels below. The data is about the same for math. The impact of the students missing 1st grade and 2nd grade in-person instruction is huge. There are grades, these are the grades where students learn phonics, they learn how to read, and they learn basic and subtraction and addition. It's a tragedy that these gaps only continue to grow. This means teacher differentiation and intervention when we have time to plan it. I don't have materials to teach phonics to kids in 4th grade, and I don't have the time to teach them to read. We've also been advised that we should not refer students for special education testing until they are 4 grade levels behind. 4. Let that sink in. Teachers have been given 0 plans for how we are going to support these students. Every day that clicks by is a day where the long-term earning potential for these students is slowly evaporating. Every day that slips by is another day where students do not feel successful and cannot access grade level content and become disenchanted with school. Every day, the potential for more and more of these students to drop out of school down the road because they can't be or don't feel successful. If students do not have the basic skills by the time they leave elementary school, the future for their educational success is in serious jeopardy. My question, what's the plan? What is the plan? As teachers, we can only save so many. Some parents have volunteered to support our students with intervention, but that's a drop in the bucket. Perhaps the district needs to provide a plan for how to meet the needs of the students significantly impacted by the pandemic. Time is of the essence, and teachers can't do it all by ourselves. We need help. And I have, for anyone who's interested in actually looking at it, I have my iReady data information for my class, which shows a lot of red. And I also have writing samples from my students that you can compare with the back wall. So we need a plan, guys, and I will give this to you, but yeah, our teachers are really tired and we're very frustrated, and we need help. Questions? Oh, you can't ask questions.
Thank you. Ms. Cindy Parks?
At the last meeting, I asked you what you know about the Aspire program offered at Schilling. Since none of you asked for information about the program, I did a Public Records Act request to get the contract, agreement, liability insurance, and confirm the volunteer clearance process was in effect. Here's a brief overview from the contract. SIWA staff will collaborate with existing staff, district staff partners within the district office and at designated sites to supplement instructional and enrichment services for NUSD students during the day and or after school. Provisions of enrichment services will enhance student development in the following areas: critical thinking and problem solving, health and wellness, building of new skills and interests, and cultural sensitivity and awareness. This includes, but not limited to, the following learning opportunities: lessons, workshops, conferences, and professional presentations in the area of science, technology, engineering, art, mathematics, disaster preparedness, cultural celebrations, and other college and career interests. Although the MOU clearly shows SIWA is providing the services free of charge, this will require district collaboration. Oversight of volunteer clearances, the need to ensure the program conforms to Newark Unified standards and policies. Here are the contractual school and district obligations. The district will ensure that an appropriate administrator will be designated for assistance in implementing SIWA's activities. The district agrees to appoint district staff as necessary to act as primary point of contact between SIWA and the district for developing a strategic plan for servicing district students. The district agrees that the district staff will support SIWA in securing basic program needs, such as instructional space, access to student information. The district will act as primary report aided agency when a staff person informs school staff of reasonable suspicion of child abuse. The district will provide professional development to assist SIWA in aligning goals to the district's Common Core curriculum as needed. The district will consult with and or provide student report card and student progress information to SIWA for purposes of instructional placement. Whenever a board member makes a request that involves staff time, the majority of the board must support that request before staff time is committed to the endeavor. Why wasn't the board consulted prior to initiating this partnership due to the commitment of staff time? How many other agreements have been entered into with this level of commitment? There are many areas in your governance handbook that speak to the board communicating with the superintendent. However, there seems to be a severe lack of communication being funneled to all of you, our elected officials. I made you all 5 of you board members copies of the contract, the liability insurance, and the volunteer paperwork I was given. I hope that you take the time to read it and see what the district has committed to. Yes, you're not being charged a fee, but there is district time being committed.
Thank you, Ms. Parks. Our next speaker, Ms. Iris Mulatto. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Iris, and I'm sorry, maybe I don't have enough English to talk. I try to speak slow because my English is not too good. I'm a parent from 2 children from middle school, and I'm here because I think our students need help for the balance in school. My daughter is involved in fighting in school, and I need information how can help or how you guys can help, because I see too much. It looks like the kids already have everything ready to, at the time the fight is going, they have the phone and put it up in the social media immediately. And I think, for my position, I say if you guys involve the parents to help the teacher, because I hear the teacher is tired, and I know, I can understand that. Maybe the parents can spend time too to help the teacher in the brunch and lunch time. And I'm the number 1 if you guys need my help. And another thing is I see another things in the middle school. I bring my friend to this meeting because I only have 2 years over here in Newark. And I see things I never see in a county I'm before. I'm coming from Sonoma County, and it's 2 years I have over here. And I see too much in the school, too much violence in the school, and I can see how the kids have the phone ready. And my friend, she have a problem with some abuse for the child, and I have like the same thing too. And I don't know how can handle this, and I need information how can put my kids away from that, because I'm worried about it. I have 2 kids in the middle school, and I need information. We come in because we need help. We need help. One student touched my daughter, and the same student do something with my neighbor daughter too, and that wasn't in school, but he told in the school what happened in front of everybody. And my next door daughter is out from the school now because she feels embarrassing, and maybe she can have a bullying about the situation she have. And she really needs help too. Thank you. And I hope you guys can help me or tell me what I can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mulatto. We will have staff reach out to you. Your information is on here. Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. On to public comments on agenda items. Do we have any, Ms. Gutierrez? No. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. On to consent agenda personnel items. May I get a motion to approve item 11.2 and 11.3, please? Or would you like to pull an item, Member Hill?
Yeah, I'd like to pull the PAL, please.
Okay. May I get a motion to approve 11.2?
I move to approve 11.2.
May I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Member Zhang, seconded by Member Marquez. We will be voting through board docs.
I got 5 yeas.
Okay. For the personnel report, we will be reviewing it at later in section 15.1. Okay. On to agenda item 12, consent agenda non-personnel items. May I get a motion to approve, or Member Hill, what items would you like to pull?
Could we pull 12.10, policy update, board policy and administrative regulation, comprehensive safety plan?
Okay. Are there any other items that the board would like to pull? Okay, make it a motion to approve items 12.2 through 12.21 without item 12.10.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made by Member Grindel, seconded by Member Zhang. Student Board Member, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And then the rest of the board will be voting on board docs. Thank you.
I got 5 yeas.
Thank you.
And President Nguyen, we do have a resolution to read.
Okay, perfect.
12.6.
12.6, Week of School Administrator. Okay, with that, Ms. Catherine Ingham Waters, would you like to start us off?
Week of the School Administrator. Whereas leadership matters for California's public education system and the more than 6 million students it serves, and whereas school administrators are passionate lifelong learners who believe in the value of quality public education, and
Ms. Gutierrez.
Whereas the title school administrator is a broad term used to define many education leadership posts: superintendents, assistant superintendents, principals, assistant principals, special education and adult education leaders, curriculum and assessment leaders, school business officials, classified educational leaders, and other school district employees are considered administrators. And
Student Board Member.
Whereas the
Where-
the next one.
Whereas
Providing quality service for student success is paramount for the profession, and whereas the most school administrators begin their career as teachers, the average administrator has served in public education for more than a decade. Most of California's superintendents have served in education for more than 20 years. Such experience is beneficial in their work to effectively and efficiently lead public education and improve student achievement, and
Member Zhang.
Whereas public schools operate with lean management systems across the nation, public schools employ fewer managers and supervisors than most public and private sector industries, including transportation, food service, manufacturing, utilities, construction, publishing, and public administration. And
Member Marquez.
Whereas school leaders depend on a network of support from school communities, fellow administrators, teachers, parents, students, business, community members, board trustees, colleges and universities, community and faith-based organizations, elected officials and district and county staff and resources to promote ongoing student achievement and school success. And
Member Hill.
Whereas research shows great schools are led by great principals and great districts are led by great superintendents. These site leaders are supported by extensive administrative networks throughout the state, and
Member Grindel.
Whereas the state of California has declared the second full week of October as Week of School Administrator in Education Code 44015.1, and whereas the future of California's public education system depends on the quality of its leadership.
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the governing board of the New York Unified School District that all school leaders in the New York Unified School District be commended for the contributions they make to successful student achievement, passed and adopted this 6th day of October, 2022. Thank you. On to item 13.1, Superintendent Report.
Thank you, President Nguyen. So this evening, I want to start by a regular enrollment update. So as you can see, this per the request from Member Hill, we have a series of enrollment points that we're sharing here, matching to projections. So as you can see on the far right is the most recent enrollment numbers as of the 4th of October. And you can see while we've had an increase in the, a slight increase in the enrollment in elementary, we've had a one student decrease in both junior high and the high school since the last time in September 14th. And then you can see a 4-student decrease at Bridgepoint, and that at Crossroads Virtual Academy that the numbers have held steady at 62. And so we are currently, our numbers, total numbers currently at 4,991. And when we match that against our projections, which were created last year based on demographic data, that we are seeing the majority of the difference in the Crossroads Virtual Academy program. Next slide. It was mentioned earlier briefly the professional development that occurred this Monday. Wanted to just share out and update the board on this. So we had a full day of district-wide professional development, really focused on one of our major priorities, social emotional learning and wellness, and climate and culture in our schools. And as we know, this has been a really important focus that we've really wanted to prioritize given the return from the pandemic and a lot of the challenges that we have seen in our district as well as in districts across the country. So the focus on Monday was two-part. One, really supporting teachers to continue to grow their understanding and implementation of the Character Strong social-emotional learning curriculum. And then the second focus, very similar, but focused around de-escalation strategies to utilize with students. So you can see here, this is some of our teachers that were in a breakout session. I believe this was with Character Strong. In the Memorial Library. Next slide. We also, like I said, part of this was also the de-escalation strategies and really focusing on the social-emotional learning competencies. As you can see there on the right, these are the competencies that were created by a group called CASTLE many years ago, and this is what we use as our framework as well. Really trying to build student competency in self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness, because we know that these are the critical components that really support students and humans in general to be successful in classrooms, schools, family, and community. And so you see here, this was one of the small breakout groups of teachers engaging around some of this learning. Next slide. Some of the comments, we got some really positive feedback from participants. These are just a couple snapshots. One teacher said, the department discussion after the Character Strong presentations gave us a good time to collaborate and tackle questions as a team. Another teacher said, I really appreciated both parts of today's staff development. The Character Strong overview was wonderful, and the presentation on restorative practices was fantastic. So, of course, we want to continue to improve our professional development offerings, but we're really pleased with this week's session. We had a a trainer that came and supported the process, as well as Character Strong staff that came and were virtual actually, supporting the professional development. Shifting gears, wanted to update the board on the fact that we do this every year, but part of a requirement by law is that we have all of our staff trained in particular safety trainings. The two that we've just completed is mandated reporter, child abuse and neglect training, as well as sexual harassment, policy and prevention training. So we have almost the entire staff has completed this training. There's a few folks that we are still supporting to make sure that they get it done. Next slide. Then wanted to update the board on our school safety trainings. And I believe I mentioned this before, but we have been partnering with Newark Police Department. They've been supporting our schools to provide school safety trainings, including trainings around active shooter, et cetera. Thus far, they have been able to train the Memorial staff, Kennedy staff, Coyote Hills staff. October is scheduled to support the Newark Junior High. I believe that's tomorrow, actually. Lincoln, Birch Grove Primary, and then November is scheduled Birch Grove Intermediate and Bridgepoint McGregor. We did have to reschedule Schilling, so I believe that's going to happen a little bit later in either the end of October or November. Next slide. And then a couple other things just wanted to continue to lift up. One, you saw some really valuable data from Birch Grove Primary and Principal Ditto. So our fall assessment window, which includes the iReady, as well as what's called the DRA assessment, will happen October 11th through November 4th. And that is then an opportunity for our teachers and educators to really utilize some formative assessment data to inform how they continue to support their students' learning and growth. And then lastly, want to remind everyone, our walk and bike to school is October 12th. That's next Wednesday. We've invited city officials. I know the mayor is already signed up. Really want to encourage everyone to participate. It's just a great way of connecting with community and really promoting health and safety. And so there'll be walk, bike, and roll activities throughout our district. If you are interested in participating, please let me know, and we'll get you signed up with a particular school.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Triplett, for the update. Any questions or comments from the members of the board? No? Okay. Member Hill?
Thank you, Dr. Triplett. Could you go back to the slide about the Newark Police Department trainings? Yeah, the school safety trainings. Thank you. So you'd mentioned that part of the training is involving active shooter, and listed out sort of the ones that have been done and what's on schedule. My question is are they then going to are these schools then going to translate that into actually doing some active shooter drills?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. And the reason why I bring it up is just last week at my school, we actually did do an active shooter drill, and it was kind of eye-opening. And interestingly, in my own class, I had a kind of a special needs kid who, even though they knew that the drill was coming, they didn't react well when it actually happened. And then that raised, that identified a number of potential issues, that I think that we have to deal with in these type of stressful situations. And it created a good dialogue. But I think the way that that you're able to make it better is by drilling. And so I'm glad that the plan is to actually to do drills around that, because I think everybody will learn from it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I believe we actually already have had some of the schools, all the schools scheduled out their drills for the year, and I believe some schools have already started the drills with their students.
Thank you, Member Hill. Member Grindel, do you have any comments for the super? Great. I don't either. Thank you so much for the report, Superintendent Triplett. On to staff report, item 14.1, ACOE approval of NUSD 22-23 Local Control and Accountability Plan and Adopted Budget. Dr. Triplett?
Thank you, President Nguyen. I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Dela Cruz to talk a little bit about the response from the county with regard to the local control accountability plan as well as the adopted budget.
Thank you, Dr. Triplett. So last June, if you recall, the board approved the 22-23 LCAP as well as adopted budget. And the LCAP and the budget was subsequently submitted to the county for review. And on September 14th, they issued a letter based on the review. Both the 22-23 LCAP and the adopted budget have been approved. There were no comments of concern by ACOE, and both the LCAP and the budget met all the criteria and standards that were required. There was only one thing, if you didn't know, Ms. L.K. Monroe did mention that she will be transitioning her role. She did mention that in the letter.
Yes.
So in case the board was not aware, she's transitioning her role from the Alameda County Superintendent of Schools, and just mentioned that it's been an honor to work with all of you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments regarding this item? Student Board Member? Member Zhang? Member Marquez? Member Hill? Member Crandell?
Just to congratulate staff on having this process go forward seamlessly without any comments from the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. De La Cruz and staff, for continuing to make sure that we are able to adopt our budget and get the LCAP plan approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item 14.2, Crossroad Independent Study Program Update. Superintendent Triplett.
Thank you, President Nguyen. So we wanted to bring forth a staff report to share some of the updates in the independent study program. Earlier, the board approved the policy change from the recommendations from CSBA and based on state changes. So now we're going to have Ms. Pierce, Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, to talk a little bit about the changes that have been made and the impact on our Crossroads program.
Thank you, Dr. Triplett. So as you all know, there's been quite a few changes. I think last year there were times when our Crossroads Independent Study Program was over 200 students. Prior, it had been, closer to 20. So you can see that wide fluctuation in the last year or so, and it continues this year, although not quite at the same level. So we just wanted to share an update as things are changing quickly. I promise I won't speak too much and I won't say everything that's on this slide. But again, we just wanted to give a very quick overview of some of these changes. So districts are no longer required to offer independent study if they do not want to. However, if they do, they must comply with the new requirements that have been set up in the recent year or so. So some of those requirements include things like signed written agreements within 10 school days of the start of short-term independent study, written agreements for both short-term and long-term independent study, tiered re-engagement procedures. So if students are not engaging in the platforms, there are procedures that need to be taken at the site to ensure that students are re-engaging, even if they're working independently, and staying on track on their classes. There's also requirements around technology access, certification of the teacher, and then again, maintaining evidence of student participation for attendance purposes. Some of the new items for this year include short-term, so signing a contract within 10 days of the start of program. And again, some items revolving our special education students, making sure that they are also signing contracts when students are in independent study. There's also tiered re-engagement, so there's new thresholds There's also, that align with chronic absentee programs. There's new ways to account for ADA of independent studies students. And then again, students who do have medical treatments, there's some new laws in there that really do make sure that they do not have to comply with some of these items so that they can maintain in an independent study program and have the flexibility of an independent study program without necessarily needing to meet all of these guidelines. So if they are having pretty significant or serious medical issues, that we can exempt them from these rules, which feels pretty reasonable. There's also some new independent study guidelines for students with IEPs. As of now, independent study cannot be denied of a student if they can't work independently. So it used to be kind of, if you can't work independently, independent study shouldn't really be something that you do. That is no longer the case. However, you do have to have a medical reason. So last year, you did not need a medical reason to sign off. If anyone wanted independent study, they could go after it. Now, if the student cannot work independently, you do need a medical reason for why the independent study is required. So there's some rules, some slight rules there that does significantly sort of impact our special education program as well. Just a little setup so that the synchronous instruction and live interactions have stayed exactly the same. So for TK3, students are expected to get synchronous instruction daily. For grades 4-8, they get daily live interaction, meaning you're sort of face-to-face, maybe not in person, but virtually with a staff member. Sort of, we see that you woke up this morning and you're going to get on the computer and do some work today. So that happens daily, and then there's a weekly synchronous instructional period. So that's when students are actually getting instruction. That could be in groups or that could be individually. And then for our high school students, 9, 12 plus, they get weekly instructional period, but they're not checking in every single day. Our crossroad structure has really had to be flexible in order to manage this. Again, when we had over 200 students in the program, we were able to have, second grade with a second grade teacher. Once you start seeing those spans sort of get reduced, you start having to get a little bit more flexible with your schedule. That is the purpose of independent study. Students are still working independently, and what we do is we try to maximize as much synchronous instruction and support structures for our students, but we also take in consideration our total enrollment, the grade level span, student needs, state requirements, as well as our contract or MOUs as they become applicable. Our current, and I have updated this a little bit since we uploaded it on Monday. So when I uploaded it on Monday, it had the numbers from September 15th, 2022. This is as of today. We have about 15 students, so that's dropped from 20 at our elementary program, and then about 43 students at our secondary program. And as a reminder, our elementary program worked directly with the teacher, and our secondary program has a teacher from NUSD, and they also are supported by Edgenuity because they have multiple periods throughout the day to ensure they're getting highly rigorous instruction in each of their content areas. So again, this is a quick overview. Thank you so much for approving the updates as they're reflected in the board policy 6158 and as well as the administrative regulation. I appreciate your time tonight, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce. Any questions from the student board member? Member Zhang?
So a procedural question, what was the reason or legislation that prompted us to do the independent study presentation? Because I don't believe we've done this in the past 4 years.
Sorry, your question was what prompted the state to?
Yeah, what prompted this study program update? Because I don't think we ever did any of this independent study program review before in the past 4 years.
The new regulations, right? We wanted to update according to the new regulations. We also are doing a pretty extensive CSBA update of all of our board policies and administrative regulations. But this in particular has shifted in the last 2 years multiple times. And so it was really important that we update it, make sure that we are in compliance, and that we're following all of the new rules that just came out in July 1 of 2022.
Member Marquez?
Yes, thank you. The one thing that I did just want to bring to the forefront is, first of all, in participating in the training over December for the updates, because we knew that July 1st was coming, one of the things that we were made aware of is the fact that when we have a minor student, and even though the parent and the teacher, and then now, I don't know if it's something that we've added, but now on the actual contract or the master agreement, we have to have a space for special education. It has to be listed, so if there is no special education, we have to recognize that on the contract. And then the one thing that I found interesting during the training was the fact that even though the child is a minor, they still need to sign along with their parents, and that's where some of the school districts throughout the state were suffering because it was absent thinking just because the parent had signed. So that's an audit issue. And then secondly, I'm actually happy to see that we've adopted Edgenuity with independent studies, especially at the Crossroads High School level. One of the things that I find particularly impressive and reliable when it comes to Edgenuity is the fact that all of the prompts, and if you go through the actual course structure, the teacher has the ability to require that the student, before they take a test, right, it's blocked so they can meet with the teacher. The amount of retakes the student. So all of that is controlled at the teacher level, but then overseen. So this takes me back to a previous conversation that we had when it came to Apex, right? Edgenuity, which is now governed through Imagine Learning, actually provides quite a bit of safeguards and procedural safeguards, if you will, that keep the program authentic as well as reliable. And then for audit purposes, especially during independent studies, for the teachers that are using that, the information is immediately available. So if an audit was to come in through Edgenuity, you would just print it out and all the time, the amount, because they're looking for the validity and the amount and the quality of the coursework that's coming through, and Edgenuity will provide that for the teachers. So it's great to see that Edgenuity is being implemented at Crossroads.
Thank you, Member Marquez. Member Hill, any comments?
Thank you, Ms. Pierce. Appreciate the update. And then just a question. So you had mentioned at the outset that now districts are no longer required to offer independent study. I'm just curious, in our county, are there any districts that are not using independent study? That you're aware of? So within our county, any school districts?
I do know that even when districts were required, there were smaller districts who decided to partner with others and allow their students to do independent study in another district, but then again, they lose that ADA. As of this year, do I know of any districts that have kind of removed them? No, but I would have to do a little bit more research on my part to.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Member Hill. Member Grindell?
Yes, well, thank you for the detailed and easy to understand report. What is the role, if you can answer, if not, we can get to this later. What is the role of the parent in this process? Are they engaged, or are they, because they're the teacher without a degree. But if you can kind of elaborate on that, I'd be interested.
Yeah, it's an independent study program, and when you have a kindergartner in an independent study program, the parent is going to be expected to support as much as possible. What we see is at the younger grades, you see more parental participation, and as the student gets older, you start to see, as expected, you start to see that drop off. I think we're doing some really beautiful things around the tiered, and I want to give some praise to the staff there at Crossroads. Even at our secondary program, where you might see sort of disengagement, we even have some of our students coming back in person to make sure that they're checking in with the teacher and getting that additional support that way as well. And so that requires a lot of connection with the parent, right? Are you bringing the parent in today? Are you still working from home? Are you setting up a Zoom? All of those kinds of things. So it really does vary on the child and what the parent decides and how much they want to get involved. But obviously, the more they get involved, the more appreciative we are of that additional support, because independent study is quite a challenge in and of itself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce, for also bringing that up, because that's one of the questions I was going to ask was, I know that the minimum standard for 9 through 12 grade students in secondary. There are no live interactions, and I was going to ask whether or not our Crossroads students are interacting on a regular basis.
Yeah, so they are expected to meet that synchronous.
Just weekly?
Weekly, but because of those tiered re-engagement strategies, there are thresholds that sort of signify to the teacher, I'm not seeing, on Edgenuity platform, I'm not seeing them engage in a certain amount of minutes. And so that then flags for the teacher,
Okay.
maybe I need to put a cost referral in. And then we try to get additional supports. And so right now we have a system set up where if they don't meet a certain threshold, that prompts a cost referral. And that prompts an SST. So the teacher, the administrator, and then the site SST team are all involved in trying to get that student back on track.
Okay, great. Yes, because I think that's what kind of worries me most is that even though, there aren't any live interactions, how are we flagging participation on the student's end?
Yeah.
So thank you for answering that.
And I will say this, they do take attendance daily, and this is something we are just continuing to improve. So we weren't perfect last year, but we're going to continue to get better and better.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, on to item 14.3, district goals and objectives. Dr. Triplett.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe we have a slide deck as well as, do we have it on paper form as well, Ms. Gutierrez? Great. Okay, so I'm going to jump in here. This is looping back to the board with regard to this iterative process of developing the district goals and objectives for the year. As you recall, we did a study session at a prior board meeting to get some input from the board around these district goals and objectives. And then since then, we've gone back and continued to integrate feedback as well as continue to revise and refine the goals ourselves. But I did want to start with just going back to the sort of where these priorities are coming from. Oh, and then I will say that so today is it's designed as a staff report to just update you on where we've gotten to thus far. There is a discussion. There's no voting today, so it's just a discussion. Welcome to give input. But then we will continue to go back and refine some more. And then the next stage is that we want to really be developing the measurable outcomes for each of these objectives that we land on as a group. So in terms of the process, wanted to just go back to where these priorities and focus areas have come from. As you know, last year we had a very robust LCAP engagement process that lasted throughout the year, but really within the spring was a big focus in terms of how do we use our resources for the upcoming school year, and what do we prioritize our resources for? So that process really informed then the initial development of these goal areas and goals. And then after that, we met at the beginning of the year before school started with different leadership groups, including NUMA group, to really reflect on the progress towards goals last year, and then what that meant in terms of informing our goals for this year. So we got some great input from NUMA. From there, we worked with department leads to refine and really drill down to the objective level with our goals, and that's what we brought to the board for the study session. And then, like I said, since then, we took the board feedback as well as continuing to get feedback from staff to continue to iterate on these goals. And so I'm going to go over them relatively quickly and then give a chance for board members to just share ideas and thoughts about how these are shaping up. So as you recall, we have 4 goal areas. Sorry, Ms. Gutierrez, could you go back? Yeah. 4 goal areas: fiscal vitality, community engagement, communication, instructional excellence for equity, and exceptional learning facilities. And we really want to stay true to these goal areas because we don't want to try to jump around and get distracted by other things. We really want to, we're advocating for really staying focused for a good duration of time, multiple years, in order to really have success in these high priority areas. Next slide. And so the goals proposed, yeah, go ahead to the next one, thank you. So in the goal area of fiscal vitality, we have reduced from 2 objectives that we brought forth last time, and we're trying to narrow and eliminate so that we can really stay focused on the very most important things. And so this goal area is the same that you saw last time: maximize resources while ensuring a positive certification from the County Office of Education by maintaining a balanced budget through 23-24. And so just want to emphasize that the idea here is not just to have a balanced budget and a positive certification, but maximizing our resources within that. And so the objective that we've developed is leveraging one-time funds to address deferred needs in instructional materials, equipment, and supplies. And that would be things such as, but not limited to, classroom furniture, musical instruments, STEAM supplies, computers, improved Wi-Fi, etc. So again, the focus here is that we do have some one-time dollars, and so how do we make sure that we are really, truly utilizing those one-time dollars in service of what has become deferred needs over time based on really tight budgets in the past. It's an opportunity to utilize funds to really address some of those deferred needs. Next slide. Goal area 2 is build the structures and systems for effective two-way communication with students, staff, and families. And there's 2 objectives here. The first one, we've talked about this before, and this was really board-driven, was create and implement marketing campaigns, not just for recruitment and retention of staff, but also stabilizing enrollment. So a twofold focus of really marketing and making sure that we're getting out the word on what it is that we do, we focus on, we are achieving, and we're prioritizing with our students and families and staff. Next slide. The second part, the second objective within this goal area: convene focused community engagement sessions based on topics of interest. And so this is the two-way part of really making sure that we are getting input. We're engaging with families. We're really supporting families to then support their children, and we're also hearing from families what it is that they need and what it is that their children need in terms to be being successful academically. So different topics of interest, of course academics, but then also safety, facilities, and other areas. Next slide. So shifting to goal area 3, instructional excellence for equity, this is really the instructional academic focus, and we have 3 different objectives within this area. But overall, the goal remains to build and maintain a focus on college and career readiness for grades TK-12. How do we prepare our young people all the way from transitional kindergarten to graduation in 12th grade for college and career success? And so we know this district has really committed to STEAM as a high leverage area. And so within STEAM, we have 4 different pieces that we want to continue to focus on and grow. Number 1 being our STAR initiative, science, technology, aerospace, and robotics. 2 is phase 2 of our environmental literacy plan that the board has supported and engaged with last year. 3 is now really refocusing on our art programming and trying to grow and support both the music and art offerings across all of our schools. And then lastly, math progressions. As the board knows, we developed a year-long process of developing new progressions in math, and so we don't want to just say, okay, take our eyes off of that. We know that math is such a high priority, and so we really want to continue and double down in terms of focus on how we monitor and support and align all our resources to really focus on math. So that's the STEAM objective. Next slide. The other one, we talked about it this evening, and we've talked about it before, and that is really making sure that we are continuing to focus on our social-emotional learning priority, and that is through providing social-emotional learning curriculum, Character Strong in particular, and designated instructional time for students and staff to develop and practice SEL competencies. So really making sure that we are creating the space and creating the support so that we can attend to our students' social-emotional development. And then the last objective within instructional excellence is the, this is the last objective within building and maintaining focus on college and career readiness, is the topic of language learners. And so as you all know, we have had seen some really great preliminary success with the SEAL program. That is an early literacy program to support language learners in the early grades. We've been growing our dual language immersion program, and then we also really want to begin to have a very clear plan for how we provide designated and integrated support for our English language learners. So those three areas together are the areas within language learner support that we want to really focus on. And then we have two objectives within the focus of recruiting, developing, and retaining highly qualified educators. One is to maximize resources to offer the most competitive salary increase possible within our financial constraints of a balanced budget this year. And two is focusing on the development and the retention of highly qualified educators through support for all educators, all staff, professional growth and development. And so that's implementing a plan that supports all staff to grow professionally through professional development and coaching. And then lastly, in the area of exceptional learning facilities, we have two objectives. Number one, hiring a consultant through an RFP process and collaboratively developing a surplus properties utilization plan to be presented to the board by June 2023. There's a level of urgency with this. As the board knows, we have a number of surplus properties, and we really need to determine, the board really needs to make some, have an opportunity to make some decisions around how we are going to utilize those properties moving forward. And then our very last objective is conducting a community-based engagement process to identify the highest priority capital projects for our comprehensive middle and high schools in order to present to the board in the next phase of much-needed improvements to our facilities. We made a decision, as the board made a decision not to go for a bond for this upcoming election, but we know that the facility needs continue to become more and more acute. And with very limited facilities dollars, we do want to make sure that we are making community-based and board-approved decisions for how to address some of the most important priority capital project needs. And that is the current draft. Open to discussion, any suggestions, thoughts, or ideas with regard to these areas.
Thank you, Superintendent Triplett. Student board member, any comments or questions for the superintendent?
Not at this moment.
Thank you. Member Zhang?
Yeah, I hope that we can continue to narrow down and to have fewer goals even than this.
Member Marquez?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say that if the goals that we created or if what we created in the goal areas, we need to make sure that we adhere to these goals, I believe, for the next 3 to 5 years, because we need to show whether they are improving, they're meeting or exceeding what we're anticipating, or if they're not effective, knowing that we implement them, but then at the end of the year, once we review, then come the new school year is when we go ahead like we are now and approaching what the new goal should be or how it should be rewritten.
Thank you, Member Marquez. Member Hill?
Thank you, Dr. Triplett. So, as we've been talking about setting goals and objectives, we've talked about using the SMART framework. And, right, and SMART, and we have it here on the agenda. It says specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-sensitive, and equitable. And you had mentioned that there's still work being done on the measurable part, but I think that there still is work to be done on the specific part. So many of these are, I think, very, very vague. So if we look at goal 1, leverage one-time funds to address deferred needs. So that's a very, opaque description. Who's defining what these deferred needs are? Is it one? Is it many? Is there priority? I think we need to get much more crisp and specific. And again, I think a prioritization would be very helpful because, if we just put furniture in the classrooms, and again, how much furniture, musical instruments, how many, STEAM supplies, what are they? So it's just very, very generic. So I think we need to get more specific there. In goal area 2, create and implement marketing campaigns for recruitment and retention of staff and stabilizing of enrollment. I guess, and you hit it a little bit later, but kind of in my experience, it's not hard to hire people and to bring in bodies. But as Ms. Ditto was indicating earlier, the success that she's seen in BGP is directly related to the quality of the teachers that we have. And so I think that we really need to somehow being able to define what are going to be, the specific areas that we need to fill, and how are we going to be defining what are, great staff that we're bringing in. So again, I think that there's more specifics that need to be outlined there. On goal 2, under convene, focus, community engagement sessions, again, this just sounds sort of like a laundry list. We even say it, e.g., for example, academic, safety, facilities. I think we need to get much more specific, and really, it's what does the community care about? What are they looking for? What kind of engagement are they looking for? And what's the outcome that we want to see from this? Just holding some, Zoom meeting or even an in-person meeting, I don't know if that really gets us a lot of bang for the buck. If we go on to goal 3A, build and maintain focus on college and career readiness. So again, we use these really, really vague terms. So continue the expansion. How do you measure that? Like science, technology, aerospace, and robotics, STAR, is that meaning we're going to buy 10 more computers there? Does it mean we're going to add another class? What is that? Environmental literacy, there's a phase 2, but I don't even know what that phase is. And then art programming, grow and support. Again, it's very, very difficult to understand what that is. And if we can't understand it, we can't measure it. So that's 3A. Social emotional learning, again, aren't we already providing social emotional learning curriculum? And so what's the new piece here? Build and maintain a focus on college and career readiness. Again, we're saying expand. And I recall from our last discussions that we were really, some of us were talking about how we need to get to the root of our academic performance, and our challenges there, and the fact that parents are not going to be enrolling their kids when they go out and look at the California School Dashboard currently and they see our current scores. And so we need to be focused in on specific measurements related to that and programs. We can't be afraid to tackle that. But putting something in like expand, have no idea how that ties to any academic outcomes. On 3B, recruit, develop, and retain highly qualified educators. So maximize. Again, these are like very, very sort of generic terms. So what is competitive salary, right? So what is highly qualified educators? The ones that are more specific is in section 4. So where you say, okay, we're going to hire a consultant to go through an RFP process and collaboratively develop a surplus properties utilization plan to be presented to the board by June 2023. So I mean, I think that hits a lot of the smart, framework requirements. And I think that's fine, and I would agree with you. I think that's important to do. And then also your other one about developing a community-based engagement process for identifying high priority capital projects for our comprehensive middle and high schools. The only question I would have there is, why are we limiting it to middle and high schools? Are we sure that those are the only capital project needs? And again, this goes back to the challenge that we had before, where we had this study that was done a number of years ago prior to the pandemic, but we really haven't updated it. And so I don't think we have a sense of what the potential capital projects are and the priorities of them. And I think that it could expand beyond the middle and high schools. So that's my input on our goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Hill. Member Grindel?
Yes, I'm particularly heartened by the emphasis throughout a lot of these goals on community interaction. I just want to stress that it's very important that the community is involved in these processes, that it's not done top down, but that the community is directly involved, and not just not to say that this happens, but not just a box that's checked, or we had a Zoom meeting, but a real substantive community interaction, which I do see reflected in the goals. I just wanted to point it out that is very important to my mind. I strongly agree with using one-time monies, or sort of special monies for one-time purchases rather than ongoing experiences. I do wonder with and not understanding how much learning loss there was and how that's going to be impacting through the through the cohort as those kids go forward, whether there is one-time sort of programs that can help achieve that learning loss, whether they may already be envisioned, but I'm wondering if that's something that in addition to capital projects, understanding we don't want to be creating ongoing programs, a staff person that we can't sustain going forward, but at the same time recognizing that we did experience a historic pandemic, which had a major impact on it seems to have had a major impact on the children, whether there's any thought of a one-time or short-term program to help with that. That's particularly important to me because some of these funds are directed in that direction. And last, it's maybe just, it seems like a pet peeve, but I said it before, and I strongly agree that we should competitively compensate our educators. Our educators are where the rubber meets the road, where we're going to be successful. And the presentation from Ms. Ditto is a great example tonight. However, it needs to be affordable, and not just for a budget year, but for in a fiscal plan going out in the future. So the implication of that if it's affordable in a year, then that's something we should do. We need to be looking at longer term trends as well. So that's where I'm at right now.
Thank you, Member Grindel. My only comment is that, yes, there are quite a few goals here, and if we are going to go into the specifics and prioritize, I would like to see some of the, that we try to minimize some of them. And so I'm in agreement with Member Zhang on this one, and also get some specifics in terms of, I know that we will nail down specifics on them all, But just to be concise, I mean, there are quite a bit, and we want to be able to make sure that we complete the goals. Thank you.
Thank you all for your input.
Okay, on to item 15.1. The consent item that was pulled earlier was 12.10, update on board policy and administrative regulations, comprehensive safety plan. Member Hill?
Just
President Nguyen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I
Sorry, can we go
apologize.
to the personnel item first?
Yes,
It's 11.3.
yes, well, yes. You pulled 11.3 first. Go ahead.
Point of order. I just want to, did the board already think we're done with the discussion on the district goals?
Yes,
Okay. So the next meeting is looking at the measurables, and the following meeting is the one we vote on the final product. Is that a timeline?
That's correct.
So we have 2 more meetings to vote on the final product.
yes.
We'll bring continue to revise and then bring measurable outcomes as well to the upcoming board meeting. And if the board wants to take action at that point, great. If they want to continue to weigh in and bring it back for another time, that's fine too.
Yeah, because it looks like based on the timeline, after this meeting, we only have 1 more meeting to really have our input, ask for revision.
We can have a study session to do that if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay. All right, apologies, I skipped over 11.3, the personnel report. Member Hill, you wanted that pulled?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as the board knows and members of the public know, so almost since the beginning when I joined the board, I've felt that our hiring process is very opaque, and that the board really not only is not involved in this, but we don't even understand what happens in the black box. Just recently, we all board members got copied on a communication from a community member raising some concerns about some of the hires. And, in good conscience, if we don't really have a process that we understand and that we can, guarantee that we're going through proper vetting and proper evaluation, I mean, I cannot in good conscience, vote to approve. Again, I really think that we need much greater transparency and quite frankly, briefings for the board on key hires, since we've talked about the fact that people are, in the end, what is going to make this happen. Thank you.
Okay, with that, may I get a motion to approve the PAL reports, please?
I move to approve the PAL report.
Thank you, Member Zhang. May I get a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Member Zhang, seconded by Member Grandel. We will be voting through board docs. You have to go back to the agenda. Do you see it now? Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I have 4 yeas, 1 no, with Member Hill voting no.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 12.
Oh, sorry, President Nguyen,
Yes.
would
Yes,
it be okay
sorry.
to introduce
Yes,
one
please.
of our newest members?
Apologies, Dr. Triplett.
Not a
You have the
problem.
floor.
Thank you. So we are very delighted to have Ms. Terry Condi as one of our new assistant principals at Memorial High School. She's with us tonight. If you could come on up. So if I could just say a few words. So we're very pleased to welcome back Miss Terry Condi to NUSD. This Bay Area native actually began her teaching career at Newark Memorial High School as a science teacher, and she is thrilled, after many years of teaching and working as a school administrator, to return to her roots at Newark Memorial. Ms. Condi earned her degrees all at Cal State East Bay, including her bachelor's degree in teaching credential in biology, as well as her master's and her administrative services credential. She has had a long career as assistant principal and principal for schools in the Tri-Valley area. Ms. Condi is a good listener and a communicator, is proactive, works collaboratively, and most of all, empowers educators to develop their leadership and instructional skills. Terry is excited to be part of NUSD, which is dedicated to education and the continued progression and improvement of the larger community. So, Ms. Terry Condi, welcome back to NUSD.
So I would like to thank Dr. Triplett and also Executive Cabinet, President Nguyen, and Board Trustees for entrusting me to serve as Assistant Principal at Newark Memorial High School. It is an honor and privilege to return to my Cougar family. I'm very excited, and just walking the campus is just amazing. I look forward to all the opportunities as we move through the school year. I also look forward to working in collaboration with the new administrative team, the teachers, the staff, the families, the students, and the community. And most importantly, I look forward to making connections and building positive relationships with our students at Newark Memorial High School. So thank you very much. I'm honored.
Thank you and welcome, Ms. Condi.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item 12.10. Member Ho?
Yes, so on this particular item, I didn't have a chance to go through the details, but the reason I asked it to be pulled is it's related to the comprehensive safety plan. And I know that earlier this year, right, we were hearing reports from, about, quite frankly, a number of violent incidents occurring at the junior high school. And the comprehensive safety plan requires a certain level of reporting. And so I was inquiring about that and actually asking that the board, that we, the board, request regular reports. And as time progressed, we found out that the problem was increasing. And then just tonight, we've heard another, parent come forward indicating that these issues are continuing. And so my question related to this board update is, are there new reporting requirements related to this? And if so, what are they?
Ms. Pierce, did you want to jump in? I will say that, so for every one of these policy updates, there is the existing policy, and then there is the recommended changes that are largely coming from CSBA. So they are all mapped out here. For each policy, there's notes you'll notice in the recommended policy update for what is changing and what isn't changing. So it is all mapped out there. Staff has taken a considerable amount of time to do that cross-referencing and format the documents as such. But having said that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Pierce to talk a little bit about what's different in this recommendation.
And I'm not as much, asking you to talk about everything that's different. I'm really more interested in reporting requirements.
This is an annual comprehensive safety plan, so it does not include reporting requirements within that. It's annual, it's done on an annual basis, and so it's done in conjunction with the SSC at school sites, and so they review it that way. They do look at data to set goals as part of the comprehensive safety plan, but in terms of regular reporting, this is an annual plan, so no.
Do they call for regular reporting, or is this just calling for it in this particular situation an annual report.
So, yeah, if I could just jump in, Ms. Pierce. So the safety plan is an annual requirement for each school. And so what this board policy articulates is the structure of that safety plan. So there is a reporting in the sense of every year that each school shares a safety plan and gets it approved by the board. But in terms of reporting of particular behavior issues on the site, that's not part of what this policy is about.
But the comprehensive safety plan does track those. And I remember looking specifically at Newark Junior High School's comprehensive safety plan, and so they do track types of incidents.
I believe there's certain things in the aggregate that are reported in the safety plan.
I also would say, again, this is done in conjunction with SSC, and best practices of SSCs regularly look at data. So generally, you know, when you look at kind of the scope and sequence of an SSC over the course of a year, you would start looking at your beginning of year data at the beginning of the year. You start developing your safety plans. You go through your bylaws, all of that. In January, you start to look at data again, and some of the data that principals and site leaders are bringing to their SSCs depends on what their SSCs are asking for, right? So it's very much an interactive process, and then some of that data is used to then create the comprehensive plan. So that may be what you're referring to, is that they looked at data and then set some goals in their plan. But again, this is an annual plan, so it's not going to ask for reporting requirements. It's going to ask that you work with your SSC, look at your data, and then develop a plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. With that, may I get a motion to approve item 12.10?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Member Zhang. May I get a second, please? I'll second it. Motion made by Member Zhang, seconded by myself. Student Board Member, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Five yes.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 16.1, Board of Education recognitions and announcements. Student Board Member Torres. Do you have any announcements?
Not at this moment.
Okay,
No.
great. Thank you. Member Zhang?
So I guess this weekend is a 3-day weekend, is that right? So just hope all the students, everyone enjoy your 3-day weekends. And in our community, we also have quite a bit of community members that are hailing from Canada, and that's the Canadian Thanksgiving. I hope you all enjoy your Canadian Thanksgiving for those that observe.
Thank you, Member Zhang. Member Hill?
Yeah, yesterday was World Teacher Day that was established by UNESCO. I'm not sure exactly when, I think it was the 60s. But I just want to acknowledge all of the teachers in our district for everything that they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Hill. Member Grindal?
Yeah, I'd like to second the thoughts of Member Hill. It's great, it's wonderful to celebrate teachers. It's wonderful that UNESCO had indicated that Teachers Day. I don't have anything further.
Thank you. Yes, I also echo the same sentiments. And thank all of our teachers for doing a tremendous job. But October is also a huge month for awareness. First off, we have, it's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month and Down Syndrome Month. And then not only that, it is Filipino American History Month. So just wanted to make sure that we recognize all of our Pacific Islander families here, and especially our Filipino American families in the district. So that is it. And then lastly, Member Marquez had made a request to go last today, so I'm going to give her the floor. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Madam President. So I want to go ahead and I'll start off in Spanish first. Como algunos de ustedes saben, he trabajado en educación alternativa durante 18 años desde el julio pasado. En mis años de empleo me he ofrecido como voluntaria en grupos sin fines de lucro durante 12 años. En ambos entornos siempre me he encontrado abogando por los desatendidos, las minorías o aquellos que existen con miedo a las consecuencias si tuvieran que hablar por sí mismos. He sido testigo de algunos de los comportamientos poco profesionales más horribles en mis años de empleo y servicio, que han provocado un éxodo en ambos entornos. Debido a la preocupación por un lugar de trabajo insalubre y el comportamiento despreciable de los adultos. Desde agresiones físicas hasta personales, difamaciones e incluso humillaciones públicas. Yo me pregunto, por todo el dinero y la contribución que tratamos de hacer, ¿vale la pena cuando el entorno no es saludable? A medida de continuo trabajando en educación alternativa y sirviendo a los jóvenes en riesgo y con grandes necesidades, identificando rápidamente que necesitaba fortalecer mi base, mis habilidades y mis conocimientos para servir mejor a los estudiantes y a nuestro programa. Durante el año escolar académico del 21-22, asistí al 90% de los cursos maestría en gobernatura, desarrollar conocimientos, comprender la gobernanza a nivel del distrito escolar local frente al condado y utilizar la información aprendida por discutir, expresar y contribuir positivamente a la eficacia de nuestra directiva escolar. Entonces me di cuenta de lo mucho que necesitaba volver a la escuela, no solo para mí, sino también profesionalmente. Con la orientación y el aliento de mi mentor, que anteriormente fue mi entrenadora de BETSA, mi objetivo se hizo realidad. Regresé a la área de la educación especial, esta vez como especialista en educación y no como paraprofesional. Tomar esta decisión y correr el riesgo de no ser seleccionada después de un intento fallido en abril del 2021 fue desconcertante y aterrador, por decirlo menos. Para mí, comparto esto porque quiero que la gente entienda que si no tuviera un mentor, una representación adecuada y compañeros profesionales que me defendieran, lo más probable es que no hubiera sido aceptado en el programa ni obtenido la beca que recibí este año. Mientras, miro alrededor de nuestra sala de aquí de juntas y recuerdo el año que ha sido parte de esta directiva escolar y con gran tristeza la negatividad a menudo que ha superado lo positivo de que el personal del distrito, compuesto de administradores excelentes, maestros, personal clasificado, personal de apoyo, junta ejecutiva, algunos miembros de la comunidad y algunos miembros de la directiva aquí escolar trabajando duramente, diligentemente y con verdadera defensa para el mejoramiento de nuestras escuelas que sirven a nuestro enfoque principal, que son nuestros estudiantes. He sido testigo de negatividad, intimidación, hostilidad, comportamiento de no profesional, difamación y, irónicamente, el modelado de comportamiento más pobre de un empleado representante de este distrito. Nosotros, los adultos, deberíamos de ser un modelo ejemplar para nuestra juventud. Al final del día, debemos ser la imagen reflejada de cuáles son nuestras expectativas por nuestros estudiantes. Si esperamos que nuestros estudiantes vengan a la escuela preparados, listos para aprender y participar, comportarse apropiadamente y cumplir o superar las metas educativas, entonces, como miembros de esta directiva, deberíamos estar haciendo lo mismo. Debemos estar preparados leyendo la información antes de las juntas que se nos proporciona antes de nuestras reuniones de la directiva escolar, listos para aprender y participar en las reuniones de la junta con la mentalidad correcta, comportarnos apropiadamente y apoyar al superintendente, que es el único empleado de la directiva escolar.
Para cerrar, quiero abordar uno de los puntos clave que creo yo que impulsa la negatividad. ¿Cuál es la razón por cual las familias no se inscriben o están abandonando a nuestro distrito? Basta con mirar el comportamiento en nuestras reuniones de la directiva escolar. Si queremos que las familias se inscriban y que permanezcan en nuestro distrito de Newark, nosotros aquí como directiva debemos ser enfocados, profesionales y contribuir positivamente en conjunto al éxito de este distrito escolar. As some of you know, I have worked in alternative education for 18 years since this last July. In my years of employment, I have volunteered in nonprofit groups going on 12 years. In both settings, I have always found myself advocating for the underserved, minorities, or those who exist and fear the consequences if they were to speak for themselves. I have witnessed some of the most horrific, unprofessional behavior in my years of employment service that has led to an exodus in both settings because of the concerns for an unhealthy workplace, toxicity, hostility, and the despicable behavior of grown adults. From physical to personal attacks, defamation, and even public humiliation. I ask myself, for all the money or contribution that we try to make, is it worth it when this setting is unhealthy? As I continue to work in alternative education and serve at-risk, high-needs youth, I quickly identified that I needed to strengthen my foundation, my skills and knowledge to better serve the students in the program where I am employed. During the 21-22 academic school year, I attended 95% of the MIG courses to build knowledge, understand the governance at the local school district level versus county, and to utilize the information learned to discuss, express, and positively contribute to the effectiveness of a school board. I then realized how much I needed to go back to school, not only for myself, but professionally. With the guidance and encouragement of a mentor who was previously my BITSA coach, my goal became a reality. I have returned to the field of special education, this time as an actual educational specialist and not a paraprofessional. Making this decision and risking not being selected after a failed attempt in April of 2021 was unnerving and scary to say the least. I share this because I want people to understand that if I did not have a mentor, proper representation, and professional peers advocating for me, I more than likely would not have been accepted into the program or earned the scholarship grant. As I look around the boardroom, I reflect back to the year I have been a part of this school board. It is with great sadness that the negativity often overpowered the positivity that the school district staff, made up of such great administrators, teachers, classified staff, support staff, the executive board, and some of the community members, and some of the board members who work so hard, diligently, and with true advocacy for the betterment of our schools that serve our main focus, and let's not forget, our students. I have witnessed the spewing of negativity, the bullying, the hostility, the unbusinesslike behavior, the toxicity, the defamation, and ironically, the modeling of the most poorest behavior from a district representative. We, the adults, should be providing an exemplary model for our youth. At the end of the day, we should be the mirror image of what our expectations are for our students. If we expect our students to come to school prepared, ready to learn and participate, behave appropriately, and meet or exceed educational goals, then as a board member, we should do the same. We should be prepared by reading the information that is provided to us prior to our board meetings, ready to learn and participate in the board meetings with the right mindset, behave appropriately, and support the superintendent, who is the only employee of the board. In closing, I want to address the one key points that I believe drive negativity. We ask, what is the reason for families not enrolling or leaving NUSD? If we want families to enroll and stay in NUSD, we as a board need to be focused, professional, and positively contribute as a whole to this school district's success.
Thank you, Member Marquez. I just also would like to thank Member Marquez for stepping in and serving the students and families in the district. Your insight, knowledge, and experience, and years of experience in education and administration has made a positive impact on this governing board. We will miss your valuable contributions. Thank you for serving with us.
Actually, I kind of missed that part, so.
Tonight is Member Marquez's last night on the board. So, Member Zhang, did you have a comment?
Thank you for obviously stepping in the middle of a term to help us during this transition period, and you definitely bring a valuable, unique perspective to the board.
Member Hill?
Thank you, Member Marquez, for your service, and good luck in your next endeavors.
Member Grandel?
Member Marcus, thank you so much for your service to this board, for your energy, for your thoughtfulness. It's been greatly appreciated by myself and other board members. So I just want to personally thank you. Also want to add, I hope you'll come back. So whether it's as a special ed teacher or returning to the board, we want to keep your expertise and energy to help our students. As you said, that's the core. That's our core beliefs. And I really appreciate having had a chance to work with you and get to know you. Look forward. Hope that lasts forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Student Board Member Torres?
Thank you, Member Marquez, for being like a great person to be around and a great member of the board. You're going to be greatly missed, and I wish you the best of luck in your future.
With that, I will move on to item 12.2. I know the superintendent will have words for you in his closing statement. In 16.2, Board of Education committees, are there any report out of ROP from Mission Valley ROP? Member Grindel?
No, there's nothing to report out.
Is there anything to report out in SELPA, Member Zhang?
I didn't attend that meeting. I don't know if Superintendent, did you have a chance to?
Yes, I was at the SELPA meeting. There actually wasn't quorum, so it ended early with, they started to report some of the fiscal things, but they're going to reschedule.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there anything from EBIC? Thank you, Member Marquez. Audit Committee, Member Hill?
So we're having another audit committee meeting this coming week. I believe it's Tuesday, and I think it's at 5:30, but it should be posted on the website. Or I would defer to Ms. De La Cruz. Did I get it right? Or is it 6?
Yeah, our next meeting is Tuesday,
At 6?
6 o'clock,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, great. Thank you.
There is nothing to report out on the bond or parcel tax committee. And then the liaison committee with City of Newark.
I'm gonna rely on the superintendent's knowledge of the actual date, but there is a meeting coming up in short order. You can help me out? Yes. Sorry to put you on the spot.
I want to say it's the 20th.
Yeah, I think it's that week. Sorry, my computer's not. 17th, thank you, Ms.
October
Gutierrez.
17th, we do have thank you, Ms. Gutierrez, a liaison committee meeting with the City of Newark on October 17th.
6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, on to Board of Education requests. Student Board Member Torres, do you have any requests at this time? No. Okay, thank you. Member Zhang?
I have 2 requests. So one, I sort of discussed this with Superintendent in our private one-on-one. So it's no secret that parental involvement in a child's education is key to their success. And based on what Superintendent has told me, so the district does have ongoing things or program that we work to provide workshop and seminar to parents, to empower parents to be more involved in children's education. I just want to have update or staff report about what are the things that we're currently doing to get parents more involved, the seminar or the workshop that we're doing, and what is the thing we plan to do in the future. That's the first request.
Okay, I think we.
We can go one by one, right?
Okay, we're gonna do one first. We have a majority. Yes. We have a majority for that first request.
So second request is, this week, I think I got an email from the personnel, the teachers and whatever, the staff member from Kennedy Elementary regarding it's a bigger issue about the shortage and the problem of attracting teachers into the district, which is happening throughout the Bay Area. I just want to have an update or like a report to say, really how many positions that we're really having problem filling in, and what is the total number of vacancy, and what is our plan to address this recruiting problem and the vacancy that's causing that obviously extra burden to the teachers and staff on site. So this is just another, like I said, this is obviously not a NUSD problem, but I will have just request a staff update or like a superintendent report or even a study sessions telling us anything we can do to mitigate this issue.
So can you specify your request? Are you requesting?
So the request is number of vacancies we have and what is our plan to address these vacancies.
Okay. Okay.
Agree.
We have a majority for that request. Member Marquez?
Yes, under let me go back. Section 12, consent agenda and non-personnel items. I recognize that we had quite a few policy updates. Are we able to create another, its own specific sub-policy or its own subtitle so that we're focusing just on the policies? Or does it need to remain, the CSBA or the guidelines, does it request that they remain non-personnel? So notice, so if we have more policies coming, policy updates, we do, right? So I see head shaking, so is the anticipation the same amount, or is it going to be more? So like if we had a number, let's say if there was 100, right? We split it up, we knew that every meeting it's going to be, like for the rest of the calendar year, it's going to be on the agenda. Is that something that's possible or to be planned for, or is this suffice?
I'm not sure if just to clarify, we have a considerable amount of policies that need to be updated, and we have mapped it out, and it's approximately 20 per meeting for the remainder of the school year.
I'm sorry, I heard something. Is that from,
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Is there a request
so
in there?
Is it all right for it to stay here under the non-personnel, or can it have its own category?
Oh, I understand. Sorry, I wasn't understanding the question.
Technically, because it's the consent calendar, so consent agenda, it falls in line with that. Okay. So it will stay on the non-personnel items.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Just a clarifying question. The updates is to get us in line with the CSBA standards that we just haven't done for many years. If I understand it, that's why I do think it's appropriate for it to be on consent, because we're really just incorporating the best practices of other school districts in the state. Is that an accurate?
Yes, it's the recommendations from the CSBA, and we just have a backlog because since prior to COVID, there had not been regular updates.
Okay, great, thank you. So there is no actual request, correct? Okay, thank you. Member Ho?
Yes, thank you. So when we saw Principal Ditto come up and talk about BGP, I think that we saw the power of data in terms of showing us sort of where we are and where we're trying to go, and I think that that's really a best practice everywhere. And what the request that I'd like to make is, we've had ongoing reports of, again, violent behavior at the junior high school and the high school. And, I know that I don't have the prior comprehensive safety plan in front of me, but I remember that we did have categories. And I know anecdotally from a lot of different parents that have come forward and spoken to me or emailed to me that either their kids are there and they're concerned, or their kids are planned to go there and they're very concerned and potentially might take their kids out of school if things don't improve. And I think that the only way that we improve something is by tracking it. And so I'd like to make a request that we put together a report that talks about safety issues on a monthly basis at the junior high and the high school, and that we get an update on that. Because again, I think that we'll see it could be perception is not correct, or it could be that there are certain areas that are problematic, and we can talk about plans that we can put in place to deal with it. But I think that we really need to get a handle on this, given that it's been an ongoing issue that's come up. So my request is that we have a monthly safety report that helps us understand what's going on and allows us to figure out what we need to do to fix it.
Okay. I don't see that there's majority, so do you have a second request, Member Hill?
That's it for me.
Thank you. Member Crandell?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. I don't have any requests either, except for wishing Member Marquez well on her new adventures, and we will miss you very much. Okay, on to item 17.1, Superintendent concluding comments, updates, and future agenda items. Dr. Triplett?
Thank you, President Nguyen. A couple things. One, I do just want to clarify, because I think it's really important that the public and the board hears accurate information. So just to clarify, we have not made any ongoing reports of violent behavior nor increases in violent behavior at our schools. And so that is not something that we are communicating, nor that's something that we are saying is in any way true. So just want to be clear about that. A couple things. One is I did want to appreciate Indigenous Peoples Day is Monday. And so that is the reason that we have no school on Monday. Very excited to be celebrating our the Indigenous people. And lastly, I just want to say a deep and profound appreciation to Member Marquez. Member Marquez, you have brought a higher level of civility, kindness, thoughtfulness, and as well as really, really genuine, beneficial feedback to all of us. You have consistently raised the dialogue to the level that we really, really need to be as an organization and as a board. And so you will be very, very, very missed. But I know that you're leaving that seat, but I know that you'll be around, and we very much are going to try to convince you to become a teacher here or a board member again, although that wouldn't be my role to convince you to do that. But if the voters decide on that, that would be great. And just want to appreciate you for all that you've done for so many decades for our district, and so thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Triplett. And with that, may I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I second it.
You're making the motion.
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Actually, I think it'd be appropriate for Member Marquez
Yes.
to make the motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Member Marquez,
I will second it.
seconded by Member Zhang. Student Board Member, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Five yes?
Meeting adjourned at 9:19 p.m. Thank you, everyone.